I was in school down the country in Carlow at the time, and I was in fifth year in school, and I remember it clearly. I got a phone call from an unknown number, and I answered, and it was Declan Fassbender, who was in charge of the under 20s at the time. And he kind of just said the club was interested in me. They had watched me play representative rugby with Leinster underage teams, and I suppose like coming from a small club like Carlow down the country and having a big club like Lansdowne up in Dublin, asking what you're thinking for next year. I think at the time Fassi actually thought I was in sixth year, and I would have been moving to Dublin that summer, but it was actually a year in advance. So I was kind of felt a little bit honoured that a big club like Lansdowne even knew who I was at the time, and I suppose that kind of got Lansdowne into my head. And then the next year, you're kind of thinking about Irish 20s. And I knew Mike Ruddock, who was in charge with the Irish 20s, was also heavily involved at Lansdowne, coaching the senior team there. So he actually called me the following year as well, and kind of said the club would love to have me. And if I performed well with the under 20s, I'd get chances to play senior rugby that year. And I suppose just when you hear a club like Lansdowne is keen on you, it doesn't kind of makes the decision easy for you. You're not really going to look elsewhere because they probably are the biggest club in Dublin and the biggest club in Ireland at the minute. So it was kind of an easy decision to join Lansdowne in the end. I suppose after being in Lansdowne for a few years before I went up, it was probably a little bit daunting going up to this big club in Dublin, me coming up from the country. But when you get there, you realise that although it's situated bang smack in the middle of D4, there's people from all corners of the country involved in the club. I know in the teams I've played with, we've had like myself and Peter Dooley from Offaly and Carlow. We had Foster Horn from Wexford. We had plenty of lads from Cork like Scott Deasy and Joe McSweeney, and loads of Galway lads as well. Aaron Keneally was a big part of our AIL winning team in 2015. So it's just a really good mix of lads from all over the country. And then, of course, the location of it in Dublin is ideal for anyone who's up in Dublin studying or working in Dublin as well. So I think just the mix of lads and the group that we had there was unreal. And of course, like all the crack you have after games, the away trips, driving back up from Limerick on the bus and stuff like that, you won't forget them or the nights out either. But I think just the group of lads involved in the club is really special. That's a difficult one because there's a lot of legends in Lansdowne, but I'm not sure if he's old enough to be a legend yet. But when I played with Craig Ronaldson, he was just a different level. In that 20, I think when we won the AIL in 2013, he was just incredible that year, and some of the stuff he did with the ball, whether it be kicking or running it, he was just a threat all across the pitch. And I know from that year in Lansdowne, he got signed up with Connacht and went on to have a really successful professional career with Connacht after that. So I'm not sure if he'd like if I was calling him a legend, but he'll definitely really go down as a club legend in the future. And what he did for the club, and then what he went on to do for Connacht after that, I think would put him in that legendary status in Lansdowne. Anyway. Probably like family or something like that. I know it's a bit cringy and stuff, but it is like a big family. Like whether you're involved with the under 20s, the seniors, the J1s. I played for all them teams in my time in Lansdowne, and everyone kind of knows everyone. Everyone looks after each other. The seniors are down watching the 20s play, and the 20s will be watching the seniors play. And even little things like, I don't know, like you're in college, you'll get good luck texts for your exams from coaches and from lads involved in the club, and they'll do anything they can to help you with things like accommodation and stuff like that. So it's definitely a really helpful club, and I know loads of lads have met connections within the club that have gone on to get jobs with them and stuff like that. So it's a great club, not only for the rugby but just for the people you meet within the club as well. That was a tough one because there's been plenty of good moments in Lansdowne jerseys, but I think the AIL win in 2015, where it was actually my second AIL to win, but that year I played consistently with the first team. I think in the first one I was in and out of the team. I was playing with 20s, and I didn't play every game that season. But then in the 2015 one, with playing that year with Tom Farrell outside me, it was myself and himself in the centre, who I would have played with all the way up underage through Leinster Academy, and now in Connacht we're still playing together. The likes of Peter Dooley, who I'm playing with now, and who's probably my best mate. So I've lived with him for 5 or 6 years in the past. So Just playing on a successful team with your best mates and winning an AIL, I think it doesn't get much better than that. So that was definitely the standout memory for me in Lansdowne. And that's a tough one to answer because there's been so many, but I think Matt Healy in both the 2013 and 2015 seasons was an absolute head and shoulders above anyone else in the league. I know he was top try scorer. I think nearly every year he played for Lansdowne, but just his professionalism in how he trained and how he looked after himself, even when he wasn't in the professional setup in Connacht, when he was just playing with Lansdowne, was just incredible. And he was just so much quicker, so much more powerful, and just a joke on the pitch. Some of the tries he scored, I'm sure people will remember them as well. So yeah, I think Matt Healy is up there with the best players I've played with Lansdowne. I'd say I could be a bit biased with this because they're both players I've played with, but I know I mentioned them before there, both Tom Farrell and Pete Dooley have both been very close to getting capped with Ireland in recent years, and they probably just come up short, but I'm sure they both still have aspirations to play for Ireland. But because I've played with them and because I know how good they are, I suppose they come to mind first. But yeah, as I said, I'm sure both of them both have aspirations to still play for Ireland. But yeah, uh, playing with Lansdowne and playing with the two of them in Leinster and Connacht, I think I know how good they are, and I know they're definitely good enough to play for Ireland. So hopefully we'll see it in the future. But as of now, they're probably two of the best players that haven't been capped. I think I'll have to say Clontarf for that. I think for them a couple of years when I played consistently with Lansdowne, there was a big rivalry with Tarf. It was kind of on the out at the start of the season. You might always say Lansdowne, Tarf, and then Con, and maybe a few more teams would be thereabouts at the end of the year. But I suppose it's that Dublin rivalry between ourselves and Tarf, and you'd know a lot of the players on the opposition team just from playing against them, and even a lot of Leinster Academy players would split between Lansdowne and Clontarf, so there was good rivalry there as well. But they were always tight games, and I think in both my AIL wins, it was Lansdowne Tarf on the last game of the season, so they were always thereabouts against us, and it was always a hard fought game. So probably Clontarf, I'd say for that. I'm gonna say the Killing Fields down in Young Munster. We weren't that successful down there, but I think I've only won there once out of maybe 4 or 5 games. But it was always a unique experience down there. They'd always draw big crowds, and there'd be very hostile environment. There'd be lots of abusing and shouting going on from the sidelines, and it was just like probably like the closest thing to a professional game that I played in the AIL because of the crowd and because of the noise they could generate in the crowd down there. And I suppose when you start making a little bit of a name for yourself as well, the crowd gets hold of that and they'd be abusing you by name and stuff. And I would never have experienced anything like that before. But I remember one year in particular, we went down there and I think we were unbeaten at the time and we were well ahead at the top of the league and they were struggling at the time, but they just came out and absolutely hammered us and the crowd got behind them and it was obviously awful at the time, but looking back, it was a cool experience playing somewhere like that. Difficult now that I'm living in Galway and based in Galway and we're playing most weekends, but you'd always be following the results online. And one of my good mates, Conal Doherty, is still playing away, and he'd be one of my best mates from a long time ago. So I'd be keeping in touch with him quite regularly. And anytime I am down in Dublin for the weekend, I'll always try catch the Lansdowne game if they're playing at home that weekend. But you'd always be very aware of how the lads are going and keeping in touch with results online. And if there is a chance to get to games, you get to them as much as you can. But I suppose, as I said earlier, you're always going to get the good luck messages from past coaches and former teammates and stuff. So I'm definitely still in touch with lots of lads in the club now, and I look forward to getting back there soon to watch a game. Yeah, my first medal was actually the AIL in 2013. That was my first year in Lansdowne. I moved up from Carlow and I started off with the under 20s and played maybe half of that season with the under 20s and broke into the first team then and played the second half of the AIL season with the first team and we ended up winning the AIL that year. And then that was a unique year where we went on to win the under 20s All Ireland. I think it was a week later. I was trying to remember which one was first, which medal came first, but it was the AIL because I remember Mark Roach actually went from playing the final game in the AIL, drove down the road and played the semi-final of the under 20s All Ireland down in Belleville. And then we had the final of that the following week, I think, and we beat Trinity in the final. So we had two medals in quick succession, which was a nice introduction to the club. And yeah, that was the first medal, was the AIL in 2013. I think some of them might have said me when I moved up first, because I probably had that proper culture attire of the check shirt and the jeans and the brown shoes. But I'm going to say Tom Farrell, because he still wears them today. He wears his gym Adidas Ultra Boost gym runners on nights out. He says he doesn't care. He just wants to be comfortable. So he doesn't put too much effort into what he wears on a night out. But I'm going to say him. There wasn't too many badly dressed, to be honest. They're all fairly all right. But I'll say Faz. I'm a qualified physiotherapist, so I qualified there last year as a physio. I'm not working as it at the moment, but we might look into it at the future. But yeah, maybe people might not know that I'm a physiotherapist. Bridge FC. Red, black, yellow, and white.